Stop talking. Seriously. Right now. You're probably saying things that make people underestimate you. This video is really important because I'm going to show you how your words betray you and make you lose value in the society. Marsyas was a really great warrior. He used to go to battle and fight fiercely, and Rome came to respect him very much as a warrior. He was regarded as a very high rank warrior who would be undefeated in battle. So due to his popularity, one day he decided to become a politician, to go into politics and become one of these high-end officials, a senate. And this was the turn of his career. He knew he would actually succeed. It was inevitable because people loved him. He saved Rome very, very much. He was a savior, one of the greatest knights Rome has ever had. And because of this, he figured if he became a politician, people would elect him inevitably. And so, people were required to address the nation before elections so that they would tell the people what they would do for them. And this day, Marsyas just decided to talk like a braggart. He first ended up calling out people of higher rank than him. He started bragging about how he was untouchable in life. He ended up becoming arrogant. He started calling out people arrogantly, and he said he knew he would win. There was no one who could go against him in him becoming a senate. And so people were struck. They wondered, is this the same Marsyas we used to listen stories of? We used to hear songs being made because of him. The glorious warrior who was the undefeated, but his tongue got very sharp like his sword, and he decided to ruin it all. So people started having doubts about him. And so election came and he lost. People decided not to choose him because he was very arrogant. So they figured when he becomes chosen, he will behave more arrogantly, more proudly, and he will not serve the people. And so Marsyas, because he was not elected, he became really mad. He decided to seek vengeance. And so one day, the Senate was planning on how to distribute food to the people of Rome, to the poor. And so Marsyas went ahead and stood before the Senate and convinced them how it was very bad to assist the locals. He gave them many reasons as to why it was a bad thing to do. And so the Senate was in turn convinced that this was not a good idea, and they removed the plan. So people started rebelling. They wanted the head of Marsyas. He had turned against them. Their once very glorious knight, a person of honor, had become so low, and so they wanted his head. They wanted to kill him. And so Marsyas, the people started rebelling. The Senate did not want many problems, and so they decided to give over the food, to just distribute it, because they feared the people's wrath. And so the people still did not agree. They still wanted Marcius to come in front of them and explain his actions. And so Marcius inevitably was compelled to come before the people. And he came before the people, and as always, at first, he started talking well at first. He started explaining, and with time, he began becoming arrogant again. He started insulting people, insulting the citizens, and so people decided to kill him. So they took him to a nearby cliff. They wanted to throw him off. And so they carried him, but the Senate went against it and decided, because he was once their former savior, they decided to banish him, and so he was banished. This was all because Marcius could not keep his mouth shut. I once had an experience in high school. We used to go to these functions where you meet other schools. And so I was not a really social person. I did not always used to talk so much. So whenever we would go ahead and meet people from other schools, let's say we would meet girls from there, I would always approach them with my friends. And so I was not a man of many words. And people used to call me shy. But every now and then, every time we used to go there, the people I had talked to began getting interested in me more rather than the other people. That was because the power of silence is really, really important. The power of silence is really powerful. It makes you mysterious, and mystery is a really important thing. Mystery is the sense of attraction. Mystery is what causes attraction. A person is attracted to you because he is interested to know what you do, what you want, what you are going to do with life, what you do in the daily basis. And this is important. Learn to say less. A person who cannot control his words cannot control himself. You cannot tell me that you're always talking. You always have an opinion on something. And in turn, you will have time to look after yourself. So, I'm going to tell you another story of King Louis XIV. There were nobles and ministers in his reign. The nobles and ministers, whenever they wanted a decision passed, they would always discuss at length. They would argue endlessly. And so, in the process, they would come up with two differing solutions. So these two, the people from one side and the people from the other side, chose one person to go and represent their ideas to King Louis. And so these people were given an audience with King Louis at the end. They were supposed to discuss these matters before him, and he should make a decision, choose one of the options, one of the two options. And so the two people will go ahead and still argue more as to how they would present their ideas, who would go first, their facial expressions when presenting their ideas, and how they were gonna present themselves. And so when they were brought before King Louis listened very well. He listened to one option and he listened to the other. And This is where his most infamous saying comes, I shall see. He always used to say, I shall see. And so whenever they presented, he would say, I shall see, and then he would leave and go to do other businesses. And as weeks passed, they would in turn come to see the decision he made. And this made him very mysterious, and it made him very powerful, because they could not predict his next move. King Louis wasn't always this way. At one point in his life, when he was growing up, he was very talkative. But as he gained the reign, he understood that saying less is for the men of power. People who are powerful always say less. Even in society, when you will always realize that saying less is a skill. The people who say less are the most powerful. Your silence will always make people uncomfortable, and in turn, they will reveal their plans too. They will become uncomfortable because silence, for the unframed men, they think silence is, they take silence as an enemy. They feel very uncomfortable whenever silence occurs. So they will always talk fast. So as they talk, they make mistakes, and you will learn a lot from them. I used to tell my sister that true power comes from silence. Whenever we would argue with family members, I will tell her to become silent, and in turn, this is the most important thing, and this is how battles are won. Even when arguing, just become silent, and you will realize that power shifts in your favor. Nicholas was a person who led a rebellion, an intense rebellion, and in his people, becoming rebellious was punishable by death. So he was caught, and the decision made was he was supposed to die by hanging. And so when he was preparing to get hanged, when he got hanged, the rope failed, and he ended up surviving. And for the people of Russia, for the people of Rus, it was a tradition. Whenever the hanging rope failed, it was considered that God did not want the person to be hanged, and so he was pardoned. So immediately a messenger went to the Caesar and told him about the incident. So the Caesar began writing the pardon letter, and when he finished, he gave it to the messenger. Before the messenger left, he asked him, what did Nicholas say after the rope failed? So the messenger said, he said that the people of Rus cannot even make a good rope. And so he took the message and he tore it apart. And he said, let us prove the contrary to Nicholas then. And so Nicholas was hanged. And this time, the rope did not fail. Once your words are out, the damage is done. You cannot take your words back. And so the tongue is the most destructive weapon. It has ruined many people. It has made many people not to become great. I have noticed in my life that when I'm quiet, people start respecting me. I am noticed, like I said in my story, people respect you, people listen to you, they take your ideas seriously, and they choose to follow them, because a man of a few words is a man of wisdom. When you speak too much, your words get diluted, and people start taking you for someone who just talks aimlessly. Silence is a strategy. Learn to use it. Whenever you're talking more, I know you think you are explaining more to people and they will understand you. And this is false. Whenever you're talking more, people lose respect for you. So don't get confused about this. Realize that silence is true power. And as always, every action you take carves the man you become.